Connecting. Perfect. All right. Welcome, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us. I know we might be waiting for another couple of people, but I'm going to get started because one thing we all know as mothers is that every small, tiny little fragile second is incredibly precious, especially as women in today's society. It is full on, right? So we need every moment. So we will keep it short and sweet today, but we want to cover some really beautiful content and give you guys some tools and tips on just how to get through this thing called life with motherhood attached to it. So the first thing I wanted to do for everybody is say Happy International Women's Day to all of the beautiful women on the call and all the women around us, because we are bloody amazing, aren't we? Amazing creatures. We definitely need love and support, and that's why Susie and I wanted to create this call today, and we're looking at hopefully doing a series of these or some extra seminars or something. So we would really love your feedback afterwards, and if you've got any questions or anything throughout, there is a chat box on Zoom. I hope everybody's familiar enough. If you need any guidance, just ask, but there's actually a little chat function in Zoom that you can use. So if there's any questions or anything, feel free to throw it into the chat box and we will address questions as we go along, and we'll have a Q&A section at the end as well. Before we get started though, I just wanted to get everybody really nice and present, and just get you to close your eyes and just put your hand on your heart. We'll just drop into the moment and just be here together. So everyone close your eyes and just take a couple of beautiful, big, long, deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And just shift yourself, shift your body, roll your neck around, roll your shoulders, and get into a nice, comfortable position. And just give yourself some love and thanks and gratitude for giving yourself this time today. We know how precious each moment is, and the more we give any moment we can back to ourselves, the more we can give to others. We do deserve this time for ourselves, and we need it to fill our own cups. So thank you so much for being here, ladies, and definitely thank yourselves for showing up for yourself today. Just a couple of beautiful, big, deep breaths, and feel Mumma Earth below your feet. There's nowhere else to be and nothing else to do in this moment. Just take this time for yourself. I could easily make this just a 45-minute beautiful, grounding, gorgeous, delicious meditation in the spirit of keeping things short and sweet, and to also remind everybody that that's how quick and easy you can shift a little bit of energy. I really wanted to do that for you to get us started, because that's definitely one thing we struggle with as mums is, I don't have time, I don't have time, I don't have time. And you're running around like a headless chicken majority of the time thinking about the next 50 things you have to do. And if somebody mentions the word mindfulness or well-being or something to you, it's like, you feel like you're just running into an electric fence of anxiety, like, where am I going to fit this in? So I really just wanted to do that to start us off, just to remind you that you can access that anytime you want, simply by putting your hand on your heart, taking a couple of deep breaths, and just reminding yourself that it's okay to give yourself a moment. Do it in the shower, do it on the toilet, do it when you're in line at the supermarket. Who cares if people are looking at you? Just whatever, just remind yourself to give yourself those moments every now and then. So let's officially get started. I'm going to hand over to our beautiful Sue. She's going to take us through some amazing content to get us started, and just give us a chat about energy and how to create good energy in your home. So I'm going to hand it over to our beautiful girl, and let's do it.
Hi, everyone. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah? Give me a wait. I'm going to fix my screen. Give me a huge thumbs up. Yeah, thumbs up. Awesome. Okay. Hi, everyone. Most of you know me, but for those who don't, I'm Susie Baker, and I am a mum to two beautiful humans. I'm not just saying this, but my kids are awesome. I am biased, but they truly are like legit awesome beings. But I have to say that when I became a mum, it definitely didn't always feel like that, and I didn't always feel like I knew what to do. So I remember when I was pregnant, I went through most of my adulthood life doing the whole, like, what is it? Ignorance is bliss. And sometimes I really truly believe that when it comes to certain things, but also to have an understanding of different things is also really important. So I remember this one woman saying to me when I was pregnant, I was about 7 months pregnant, and it was a lady from work. And she said to me, don't worry, when the baby pops out, you will just know what to do. Like your motherly instincts kick in and you just know what to do. And I'm an only child. I was never really around little babies when I was a kid. My husband is one of 8. He actually literally taught me how to change nappies and how to swaddle my son. I had no clue. And so when I became a mum, it was like a freight train, like hitting me in the face. Like, it's not just, I remember like the first time I went home with my boy and my husband had to go to work that day, I went to go to the toilet. I'm like, holy hell, like, what do I do with this child? Like, I need to wee. Like, what where do I put him? Like, it's like, you don't really grasp the realm of responsibility when it comes to another human being until it's like placed into your lap, literally and figuratively. So when I did become a mum, I remember that thing that she said to me, like, just stuck in my head, like, you'll know what to do. And I swear I had absolutely no freaking clue what to do. I didn't even know where to put my kid when I needed to wee. Like, I was like, okay, things aren't going so good here, you know. And I remember getting to the 6-week mark and people like, oh, it'll get a little bit easier. And then I get to the 12-week mark and everyone's like, 3 months and you get yourself sorted, you'll be okay, you know, things will kick in. And I got to the 12-week mark and I literally, honestly, it was like counting down. I was like, oh my God, like, okay, 12 weeks, I'm going to know what to do. Like, I'm going to wake up in the morning and here I am, like, mum, like, rocking it. And unfortunately, that really did not happen at all. And I found that I became this, like, woman, like a shell of who I was. I had an extremely terrible birth. With my son, I nearly died. And with all of that came a lot of post-traumatic anxiety and post-traumatic stress, which I dealt a lot with just with my family and friends helping me. But I didn't even understand what I was going through at the time, not to mention sleep deprived and, you know, another human relying on you 24/7. So it was a pretty hectic time. And it got to the point where I was in such an anxiety bubble that I literally couldn't leave the house. Like, my husband would almost physically push me out the house. Like, you've got to get out. Like, I just couldn't. I was so overwhelmed with responsibility and anxiety and all these things that I couldn't get out of bed on some days. And so, you know, one of the things I had to do, and I took responsibility, and I'll go a bit more into how I did this, but was engage in a health coach. I knew I needed help. I didn't felt like at the time I needed a psychologist, for example. And I kind of felt like that was a bit too much for me. I felt like it was just a frightening thought for me to say I need to go and speak to someone. So for me, a health coach was a good step. I was like, okay, I need help, but maybe I can just do this first. And she taught me a lot of tools. And that's one of the reasons I became a health coach, is because I really want to help other mums who experienced what I did. And she gave me the tools to be able to do these things. And so one of the things that I recognized and became apparent to me really early on was how I would constantly keep doing that I just need to thing. Like, you know, you get up in the day and you're like, I just need to get breakfast for the kids. I just need to get this washing done. I just need to do the dishes. I just need to do that. And there's so much responsibility that you have to do in life and taking care of another human that you never actually look at taking responsibility of yourself. Or it's just this thing where you think like, I'll come last because everything else comes before me. And so it's going through this journey, one of the things I recognized was that I sit in what's called my masculine energy. So we all have masculine and feminine energy. A lot of things have them, like electrons have them, batteries have them, you know, when you stick the two batteries together and they don't stick properly. And what it actually is just when I was sitting in my masculine energy, it was just someone who's just always on the go. You never sit down. Like when you think about them, you really get exhausted because they're just like bang, 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 always on the go. And that was me. I was working. I was looking after 2 humans. I was trying to run a business. There was literally never enough hours in the day, and I was exhausted. And the problem was I was sitting in what's called the unhealthy balance of the masculine, and I didn't understand the feminine energy. Feminine energy, just think all things pretty, like girly, you know, candles, flowy dresses, music, soft things, and just taking time out, like stopping. But for me, I really thought that stopping meant you're wasting time. What I learned was that if you don't take care of your feminine energy, or you don't rest as much as you are working, you will eventually burn out, get cranky, get overwhelmed, get anxious. And, you know, all I really wanted to do was sit the fuck down. Sorry. But that's just really what I wanted to do. And I wasn't able to achieve that. And the reason is because I kept shooting on myself, telling myself, you know, you should be doing this. You should be playing with the kids. You should be doing that. And in that really came down to the fact that I wasn't even looking at who I was as a person. And, you know, I'd go to bed every night after yelling at the kids for the 14th time, and I would hate myself. I'd be like, oh, I'm not an angry person. And I would say that to the kids. I'm not a yeller, but I was yelling because I felt so frustrated and so overwhelmed because I just wasn't filling my own tank. And I'd go to bed at night and I'd be so angry with myself. And I'd be like, okay, tomorrow's a new day. It's a new start. I'm going to start again. I'm going to be more patient. I'm really going to try. I'm going to do all the things. And I'd wake up, and before 7 a.m., I'd already be yelling at the kids because her brother touched her, or, you know, they were screaming at each other. And I'd be like, I've already, you know, lost it, and it's not even 7 a.m. So what I learned to do was that I really needed to take the time to balance my feminine energy. And as a mum, you really are the energy holder of the house. Like, you don't really recognize, but your energy really flows on to the rest of the household. And when you're stressed and over anxious and overwhelmed, the rest of the family feel it. The way you speak, the way you act, it all flows out. And so now I'm going to hand it over to Beth, who's going to explain a little bit more about how we need to stop, you know, shooting on ourselves, and you know, how we can sort of look at that and take a bit more action with that.
Thank you, gorgeous. Oh my God, can relate. Can relate. Yeah, thanks, darling. I wanted to just touch on a few points that will hopefully resonate. And I guess the one thing is actually being consciously aware. So Sue mentioned that there's so many times that you feel these things, right? And we can just get so caught up in the emotion of it that we don't actually really have even the brain capacity, because let's be honest, as mums, you're doing bloody everything majority of the time, because we're the ones that naturally think of everything. I know for me with my partner, he's a wonderful, attentive father. He's incredibly helpful. But if I'm going out, even if it's for 2 hours, I'm the one that thinks, okay, we need to organize bottles. I've got to have the food ready for the child. I've got to have this. I've got to have that. If he needs a spare outfit, I'll lay that out. You're thinking of everything, right? So you don't actually even have the time sometimes, or you can't create the time to build that awareness around what is actually coming up for you. So whilst I go into this content, if anyone's got a journal or a notepad in front of you, or if you just want to have a think about this and ponder on this, becoming consciously aware, ponder on what area of your life do you shoot on yourself the most? Where is this your biggest frustration and challenge? So think about this. We've all generally got one real pain point. And what's your internal language around this? Is it, oh my God, I never get this right. This isn't fair. I don't have enough help with this. I don't have enough support. This gives me the shits. You know, he doesn't do enough, or they don't, like, they just whatever it is. We all have generally one really intense pain point. And sometimes it can be an internal pain point, and a lot of our I'm not enough, I'm not deserving, it's self-worth stuff that's coming up for us as well. So just have a bit of a ponder on that. And sometimes just bringing that to your awareness and consciousness can be a really powerful shift and breakthrough. And that's what I do with my clients. I do NLP. So I'm a life coach, but NLP practitioner as well. And for those of you that don't know NLP, it actually goes into, it's neuro-linguistic programming. So neuro being mind, linguistic language, and program being our internal programming. And our internal programming and our unconscious mind can be incredibly powerful, because we can all of a sudden, I'll give you a perfect example. How many of you on a call or in a situation or whatever, you'll be in a situation and you'll say something or do something, you might even get cranky or have an emotional reaction to something, and you think, shit, that was my mother, or that was my father, or, you know, and all of a sudden you're on this, in this pattern, stuck in this pattern. And it might even be a limiting belief, a self-sabotaging pattern. It could be emotional eating. It could be anything. This stuff is programmed into us unconsciously, and it can really, really take over. And there are definitely ways that we can identify what this is and shift this stuff. But the first step is bringing it to your awareness and consciousness. So ponder on that question that I asked, and do this as a practice for yourself whenever you're in a situation where you feel yourself getting triggered. And a lot of the time it is that, oh, I should be doing this, or I should be doing that, or I wish it looked a certain way. We get really attached to how things should look. And then we put so much bloody pressure on ourselves to make it happen that we end up getting overwhelmed, frustrated, anxious, cracking the shits with everyone and doing nothing anyway. So no one wins, right? So just take a moment for yourselves, whether it's a daily or even every second day, if daily feels too much, once a week, to get you started on just bringing stuff to your consciousness. It's a really amazing process. And the second step of that is actually reframing your language. So think about what you're saying to yourself internally and externally. So it's actually focusing on what you do want versus what you don't want. Your unconscious mind, and this is a really powerful thing to remember, your unconscious mind does not process negatives. So if you think about, for example, when you say things like, I don't want to feel like this anymore, I don't want to be angry, I don't want to feel anxious, I don't want, all your unconscious mind hears is, I want. And it'll do anything it can to keep you stuck in that pattern. So I'll give you a perfect example. If somebody's trying to quit smoking, for example, I want to quit smoking, I want to quit smoking, I want to quit smoking. Your unconscious mind hears, I want smoking, I want smoking, I want smoking. So the best way to stop smoking is to actually stop trying to quit and create a goal or a vision board on what you want. What do you want? I want a harmonious home. What do I want and how can I have it? And it's taking those little steps. So if we're talking about internal language and you've got some negative stuff coming up, reframing that from something like, I don't have enough time to get everything done. What's the opposite of that? And just ponder on that for yourself. How can I create more time for myself? Or how can I show up for myself and ask for help? Or does it really matter if I leave something till tomorrow? That's a really, that's just a side note, guys. Just, you know, as women, we need that sometimes. So they're just a few little points. And I will just mention as well, we will be sending around a worksheet when we finish this call as well. So anyone who didn't register via Eventbrite, I think everyone on this call currently actually did, we will be sending an email with a few little bits and pieces to actually help you through this process as well. And anyone that is on the call as well is able to book in. We'll put a Calendly link in the chat box at the end of the call, as well as on the email. So if anybody wants to, we're actually going to provide a follow-up call with Susie and I to actually help you through this process. And that's a free thing for you guys as well. So just little side note. So you don't have to remember absolutely everything we're saying. So I'm going to hand back over to Sue, because she's going to talk a little bit more about what's next. We are talking about how to take radical responsibility. And this is a big one. So taking radical responsibility and showing up for yourself.
Yep, that's it. Communicating better about what your needs and wants are. This is a huge topic for me because I am the worst communicator in the world. I bottle everything up. Don't know about anybody else here, but I bottle and bottle and bottle everything up. And then like my husband will just, you know, move the wrong way, his leg the wrong way, and I like lose it. He's like, okay, what's going on here? And really it is a much deeper thing, but there is a lot of based on what Beth said, and it kind of really sticks to home. So I think that's really important thing is like what we're trying to explain is that you will be the only one that can make changes in your home. The only way you are going to create a harmonious home is when you take radical self-responsibility. Now, when I first heard this, I just was like, hell no, I've got enough responsibilities. I do not need another one. Like, I just can't deal. But when you delve into it a little bit more, taking radical responsibility is almost like just cutting through the bullshit and getting to the core of what really needs to be done or what you really need as a human being. I think becoming a mum, you do have to, especially in the beginning, let's not lie, put our needs aside when there is a tiny newborn human sucking on your boobs or drinking a bottle and wakes every few hours. Your life is governed by them, right? For a little while at least. And so I think it's hard once you've been in the depths of that, because it's so emotionally overwhelming and can be draining at times, that as you start to sort of find your feet or get a little bit clearer and the kids start to get a little bit older, you almost are like, I've forgotten what life was pre-kids, or I've forgotten what my needs and wants were. So it's just easier to just continue on with putting everybody else first, because that's just what you know. Most people are happy. In my case, and I don't know if anybody else can relate to this, put a 1 in the chat box if you can. I ended up trying to keep everybody happy, would do everything for everybody else. And in the end, everybody else just ended up getting shitty, and I was shitty because I was exhausted, overwhelmed, and then everybody else was shitty too. And I'm like, well, I should have just done whatever I needed to do anyway. At least I would have been happy. And that again comes down to when it's your energy and all that sort of thing. So what is important is no one else is going to come and save you. I hate to tell you, except maybe my mum. My mum saves me on everything. Anytime I've got like crazy thoughts going through, I'm like, mom, and she's like, it's okay, calm down. But the point is, you are completely and utterly responsible for your own self. And this comes down to even with your emotions, like you could be codependent, or what I like to call in victim mode. I have been in victim mode for a long time. For an example, when my husband, I've been picking on him a bit this school, haven't I? It's just because we live together, doesn't put his dishes in the dishwasher. He'll put them in the sink. And I think to myself, you know what? If they're just in the sink, who do you think is going to put them in the dishwasher? Like, if you just put your dishes in the dishwasher, then I wouldn't be cranky and I wouldn't be a bitch, But taking radical self-responsibility is when you just acknowledge the fact that you're just being a bitch because you're not getting what you want. Or, for example, this shirt I put on today, it has a huge mark down, you can't see, but it has a big stain on it. And I was like, I could change my shirt, but I'm not going to, because I don't want to create any more washing. So instead of me saying, I usually used to say, it's just the kids, they spilled something on me when I was going to school. Instead of doing that and just taking responsibility and being like, hey, you know what? I decided to wear a dirty shirt because I seriously do not want to do any more washing than I have to. That's really empowering. You're just like being honest. And also in that too, when you're honest and you're sharing these things, it makes other mums realize what is normal, because we are in such a time of perfectionism and social media highlights and things like that, that when you can just share real, radical self-responsibility, other mums are just going to go, thank God I'm not the only one. I don't know if anybody else can relate, but I know I do that when mums like stuff up. I don't want them to stuff up in any way, but I'm just like, you know what, that would have happened to me too. You are human, thank God. So, these things are really important. When you take responsibility, it's important that you're recognizing your own needs. And when you become aware of your thoughts, like Beth mentioned, and your own internal dialogue, it's easier to then be able to recognize what you need, especially when you're looking at your masculine and feminine energy. So as Beth mentioned, we have a workbook and we talk about how you can dive deeper into your masculine and feminine energy. But also, I don't know if you recognize, but I'm a reformed people pleaser. And I used to recognize that I would put everybody else before me. Like, I'd say yes to events that I didn't want to go to because I didn't want to hurt someone's feelings, or I'd do things just because it was right for them. But that would mean me sacrificing going to the gym, or me sacrificing spending money on organics because that's what was important to them, but it wasn't important to me. And so it got me thinking, when in society did it become okay to want to fulfill everybody else's needs and not our own? Like, why is it okay that we will say yes to things we don't want for others to keep them happy, which in turn hurts us or creates a void in our lives? So in this workbook that we're creating, I've also created a document, and it's called a 21-day contract to self. It's something that you can fill out, and I've got chills just talking about it. Something you can fill out, and I want you to pick 4 things out of your life that are really important to you. It can be so small. For me, one of them was having a cup of tea. Just that gives me so much joy, just having a cup of tea by myself. Like, so nice. I literally love to listen to good music. It doesn't have to be going to a day spa for days and spending hundreds and thousands of dollars, but if you want to do that, no judgment here, right? Pick 4 things in your life that just give you that warm feeling inside. Just think about it, like something, I don't know, a hug from your kids. It can be anything, right? Something for you. And then I want you to commit for 21 days that you have to do that thing on the daily. Schedule it in, put it in your diary. Don't pick witching hour. Don't pick a time where you know you're technically probably not even going to be able to do that. Specifically, get specific. Pick a time in the day. For me, it's like the kids go up to bed at 7 and they have half an hour iPad time. So at 7 o'clock, I do the things that are important to me, because that is the only time in the day that at that point I can, and I won't feel guilty, and it makes me feel so good. And when I go to bed, I go to bed happy and fulfilled, and it's nice to wake up that way too. So if you are able to write this contract to yourself and stick to it, you will notice how much calmer you can feel when you are fulfilling your own needs. So next little thing that we have going is for Beth. And what are we talking about now? I've lost our little thing. Is how to say no to others and hell yes to yourself. So that's just following on from what I've just said. So Beth, take it away.
Thank you, darling. Yeah, this is a really big one, isn't it? And look, it's flowing on from everything, because it's all about energy, right? This is all about energy. It's all about patterns. It's all about, how do we shift this stuff? How do we change it? How do we access a feeling of feeling good when we feel like shit, when we haven't slept and we don't feel sexy, beautiful, or in our feminine energy or in flow, because we don't feel like we can fill up our own cup because we can't even find the bloody cup. Like, the cup's disappeared. We're literally that exhausted. We haven't slept. We haven't washed our hair. I mean, I actually intended on getting up this morning and washing my hair and making it look really nice for today's Muminar webinar, but my little guy decided to wake up at 4 a.m. and, you know, heaps of shit went pear-shaped. So I'm lucky that I'm actually sitting here with clean underwear and pants on. And it's like, you know, sometimes you just have to let go of what you thought it was going to look like and just flow with what happens in the moment. And it's just that, it's the radical responsibility of yourself, like what Sue was saying, but showing up with surrender and acceptance. And surrender and acceptance is a really, really, really big thing, I think, especially as women too, because we're very emotional creatures and we really do need support, and we want support, and we want to feel validated. When we're exhausted, we want to feel loved and we want to feel nurtured. And when you're doing that for everyone else all the time, it's really, really hard to ask for something for yourself. Sometimes your self-worth stuff might come up as well when you really do need something or want something. Or, as Sue said, you know, she bottles things up. I've done the same thing. I think sometimes we do that not even intentionally, right? Because you've got so much to do. You just get to a point where you're actually just at burnout. You know, I know for me personally, I live with chronic pain, and to give you a little bit of background about where I'm going with this, through my whole 20s, I went through so many health issues, chronic pain, back pain, anxiety, really battled with depression for a while, and went through endometriosis, et cetera, et cetera. It took a very, very long time to get an actual diagnosis of what was going on with my body. And so much of it was hormones with the endo and lots of other different issues, which is a whole nother day seminar that I learned about health, which is why I first started studying food and nutrition coaching and went into life coaching, et cetera, et cetera. And it wasn't until I did all of that and I realized how powerful this mind-body connection is that my whole life changed. And becoming a mum really made me realize how bloody important this is, because when you become a mum, like Sue said, in the early days, it's so intense and exhausting, and all of your focus is on this little person, right? So you can actually just get to a point then, and even if your children are 20 years old, if it becomes your pattern to not listen to your body and tune in and take care of yourself and show up for yourself and ask for what you need, I know for me personally, it's my body that packs it in, and we do carry a lot of emotion in our body and a lot of stress in our body, especially as women. So you'll end up at the chiropractor needing a physio all the time, etc., etc. And I encourage everyone to do whatever they need with that anyway. But your body can really start to pack it in because you're holding on to all of this stuff. So it's asking for what you need. And a question to ponder on here is, what do you not give yourself? Really, really think about it. When did you decide that that's okay? There's so many times when we really, really should just speak up. Do you need your partner or someone in your life to show up for you? And I know for me personally, and I'm sure everyone's been in this situation, especially when Bub was really young, one of my girlfriends would say, look, I can give you a couple of hours if you want me to just come over and play with Hamish, and you can just go and have a shower and wash your hair. And my shit would come up. And I'm a life coach, and I teach people this to allow people to help you. But that's been one of my biggest struggles, because it's an unconscious pattern for me that I've done a lot of work on. I got that from my mum. My parents got divorced when I was really young, and I took it on board at 9 years old that I was going to be my mum's mum, basically, and be a perfect child and not put any more pressure on her because she didn't need it. So I really, really put a lot of pressure on myself from a very, very young age to do everything and not ask for what I needed. So for me, actually accepting help, it's an unconscious pattern. It's really, really challenging. So I have done a lot of work on, when somebody says, let me come and give you a hand, I just say yes. I say yes. And you might have that little physical response in your body like, oh shit, that feels a bit uncomfortable. Good. If it feels uncomfortable, it means you have to say yes. Go with it. Absolutely go with it. But when it comes to partners and shifting energy and just the home itself, this is a really, really, really big point. You teach people how to treat you. And my biggest message here is, be the change you want to see in the world. I'm going to use an example of this. I had a client a few weeks ago, and she actually asked me if I would do sessions with her and her partner, because she's had such beautiful breakthroughs with herself that she's like, he really needs this, he really needs this. And we zoned in on that a little bit, because one of her main frustrations was that her health was going downhill a little bit. I was coaching her with some stuff in her business because she was just feeling a bit unmotivated. And she was really, feeling unhealthy and just really overexhausted, right? Overwhelmed, anxiety coming up, emotions, lack of clarity with what she wanted. And she was getting really frustrated with her husband because he was drinking too much, eating the wrong foods, et cetera, et cetera. And she was feeling kind of pulled into that vortex of him being this person that she didn't want him to be, because that was influencing her, right? Because we can get influenced by one another's energy. And I just zoned in on that a little bit with her and just sort of said, what would happen if you let go of the need to change him? Because she was having some pretty intense chats and giving him real direction on what he needed to change, and getting incredibly frustrated because he wasn't taking that direction and doing everything she wanted him to do. So we talked about her just leaving him alone to do whatever he was doing and working on her. And we started doing some daily affirmations. We got really, really clear on what she wanted. So we worked on the internal language of what she was saying to herself, so she could kind of let go of the frustration of what she wasn't getting and start a daily practice on focusing on, what do I want and how can I create it? She wanted to feel happy. She wanted to feel fulfilled. She wanted to change the energy in her home and her relationship. And she really wanted her partner to get on board. But we reframed that to, I want to be the change I want to see in the world. I want to feel healthy and vibrant and beautiful and feminine. So we did tap into the feminine energy, to Sue's point before. And she just started making little shifts and changes within herself. And literally, ladies, this is how quickly it happens. Within 2 weeks, he had started going to the gym again. He'd stopped drinking every night, and they were doing all of this amazing stuff together because he saw that she was showing up for herself. She basically signed up for this detox. She stopped drinking. She started eating healthy again, and actually saying no to things and saying, no, you need to put Bub to bed tonight because I need to go and do some yoga, or I need to whatever. Like, she was actually just saying, no, this is where you need to help me. And their whole relationship changed. She said, we actually feel like we're in a bit of a honeymoon period again. So I could talk about this stuff for ages, and I'm very aware of the time, and I do want to leave time for some interaction. So I will kind of leave it there, but I just want to finish on one amazing saying that one of my mentors always drums into me is, you may know this stuff, but can you live it? And live it, you have to become it. So it's one thing to, we can all read books, listen to podcasts, show up to seminars, do the work. But if you're really, really committed and you really, really want to make some substantial changes, and I'm talking long-term changes, it's constantly showing up for yourself. The journey never ends. And Sue and I are here to support you guys. We've both got amazing communities that we've created, and we really want to do more of this stuff together, which is why we've attached the follow-up call to this afterwards, and we'll send the workbook out, because it's literally our mission to just help and support as many women, predominantly mums, as possible, because we all bloody need it, and it's okay to accept the help. So we will close off shortly, but I just wanted to open up to, does anyone have any questions or just anything that they want to share or say? Just unmute, feel free to unmute yourself. You can always just unmute everyone, actually. I can. All right. Yay, Nikki.
Oh, God. Not really. I just, it does resonate a lot with me with both of what you've been saying. For me, it's, always making excuses to like, I can't do this because of this, being a bit of victim mentality a lot with me. But I think my main ones, healthier eating, time for myself to go for a walk, that kind of thing, rather than going, well, I can't go for a walk because Cooper has kept me up that, or taken this amount of time to go to sleep. So I think it's just I definitely like the idea of doing the 4 things that are important, as well as the comment saying constantly showing up for yourself, because it's a constant battle for me. So that's one thing. It's just that you girls can keep me honest with. So sure.
No, I love that. I love that, honey. And one thing to remember about all guys is just forgive yourself. Just forgive yourself. If you're having those thoughts and, all of a sudden something comes to your consciousness, it can get really uncomfortable, and you can even have a bit of a moment where you feel a bit shit about it. And then you can even go into another pattern, which is unconscious as well, about like, I know it's one of my main work and triggers from, lots of stuff in the past that I definitely emotionally eat, or I can just feel like having a couple of extra wines, or, your unconscious goes to the point where it wants to make you feel safe. It wants to give you that love and the nurturing that you're craving. And the unconscious mind will always take the path of least resistance. And sometimes that's the quickest way to give you the fix. But the best way is to, get out of, it's the pendulum swing of the victim and aggressor on the other side. And then there's the creator in the middle. And a creator always says, what do I want and how can I have it? Yeah. And it's kind of, just bringing it to your awareness and just going, let's get to creator mode. We all swing between it though. And just that surrender and acceptance piece around, that's okay. It's cool. You're human. We're gonna stuff up, and it's the learning that you take out of it,
It's true. It's the same with Danielle. She said that she's basically the same. And I think that's the important thing to recognize. It's like, we all do it, and like we're all on the same page. It's just that some are just one step ahead, or they've done the things and they've done the work, and that's why it's so important to share it with everybody, because the more we can share it, the more it becomes normal, and the more we can understand it, and the more we can appreciate it, and then we can help each other move on from it. So it's like, I think it's so valid saying that we're in the victim mode. Like, I do it, and I still do it. And that's the thing, you will always do it, but it's all it is becoming aware of it and becoming conscious of it. And then you have the ability to change it. So you'll hear yourself, you'll be like, ugh, if my house would be so clean if like my husband just vacuumed every now and then. You're like, oh, I could vacuum. Or I could just say to him, can you please vacuum? And that's another thing too I wanted to point out. It's like, for a long time, and I'm still learning to voice what I need. And sometimes it's not easy as just saying, hey, I want this. So there's a lot that can come up, like self-worth and all that. So finding something that works for you, something really simple, and just remember, with everything, is what works for you. Even exercise, like whatever it is, don't take out your embedded belief on exercise has to be hard or whatever. Just do what works for you. That is perfect the way it is. And so if you need to tell your partner that you want him to clean more, but you're too scared to talk to him about it, or you just don't feel comfortable, figure out something. Send him a text when he's at work so he has time to cool down. Or write a letter and leave it on the note. Like, hey, if you vacuum today, I will give you a cup of tea later.
Close your ears, Mum. Close your ears.
Figure out a way that is comfortable for you and works for you. It doesn't have to be like that for everybody.
And yeah, to that point as well, and I just saw Danielle's comment come up. I hate having to ask though, because we can all go through that, right? You do. You get through. Oh, I know. Look, I do it, and I know especially when I became a new mum, and I became a new mum to a man that I'd only been in a relationship with for 5 months before we fell pregnant, and then we moved in together when I was 7.5 months. And, so I had this whole extra element of learning and getting to know one another. And after being single on my own for 4.5 years and doing things my way and everything, so, communicating and all that kind of stuff, moving into a household with another man again, and then adding a baby to the mix. Oh my goodness, all my shit came up. I mean, seriously, you become a mum and your deepest, darkest demons come to the surface. And, it's the sleep deprivation, it's just everything. And then navigating my way through a new relationship at the same time was intense. And I know all this stuff. I'm very aware. I'm very intuitive. I'm very aware. I'm a good communicator. And I went into the deepest, darkest hole at times because I was literally thinking like that. Oh my God, he's not doing it this way. Or, and you can have these moments where, as Sue said at the beginning of this call, the woman really does set the tone and the energy of the household. And it's how we frame that, your language or your internal thought process around that. We can really get the shits about that. And sometimes we do, let's be honest, we all do. Even Sue and I do, we know all this stuff and we teach it to other people. But I have times like that. It's like, well, why the fuck is it always up to me? Excuse my language. Sorry, Mum. But it's like, why is it always up to me? He's a bloody grown man. Why can't he set the bloody energetic field for the house? I'm shattered. I don't want to do this today. And you know what? When you're in that mindset and when you're in that energy, that is the time that you need the break. That's the time that you need the shift. That's the time that you need to ask. You need to ask, because that is the time that your cup is running on empty or completely missing. So when you're stuck in that, I don't want to have to ask, I shouldn't have to do this, I shouldn't have to do that. It's the energetic field that has to change. And one quick example on that, and then I'm looking at the time, the example of this is that, oh my goodness, my partner, as I mentioned before, he's a great man. And for a man, honestly, he's actually quite domesticated and, actually puts stuff away and stuff like that. But it's never up to our standard, right? We're women. We have I'm a bit OCD as well. And you have to let go of so much when you're a mum too. And you actually just want someone to just, like magical cleaning fairies, just come in and make everything perfect. But sometimes you look at it, and I've got washing out on the line for 2 days, and it's just like, it is what it is. And I really went through a little bit of a time when I was just getting incredibly frustrated, and I was really, really stuck in this mindset of this isn't happening, and the relationship doesn't look like this, or I'm not feeling like this, or he's not making me feel like this. And coming back to the radical responsibility point, we are all response able. So if you think about the word response with able in capital letters, we have the ability to respond, and we can shift the energy. So I sort of said to myself, you know what? I'm actually not happy right now, and something needs to change. And the only thing I have control over is myself. So I'm going to take radical responsibility for myself. And instead of cracking the shits at everything, I just went, right, like Sue said, pick a time. As a mum, it might not always be the same time every day. If that doesn't work, it doesn't matter when it is. It literally can be when you're in the shower or whatever, if you're really struggling for time. But I have those moments with myself, and, you know, I find some amazing meditations, or I journal, get the emotion out. That's a really good thing, you know, get it out. When you can feel all of this shit being held in your body, that's when you are pushing all of that out there. An amazing trick is, if you have a bath, run yourself a bath, go under the water and scream at the top of your lungs. No one can hear you. Don't breathe in under the water. a little tip for everyone. But honestly, it's remembering that it's all energy, because really there are no such things as positive or negative emotions. They're all just emotions. And explaining what I mean about that, it's the label and the perception that you put into it. My positive could be Sue's equal and opposite negative. You know, something happens in my life and I'm like, oh my God, it's the best thing ever. And Sue could go, that's my worst nightmare. How's that a good thing? Just remember that when you're in certain situations, it's your perception and it's your mindset that's giving you that feeling. And
that's right. And it's like, just becoming aware. That's the big thing. When you become aware.
Exactly. It's the awareness.
I too have needy kids, so I totally get it. Like, even the kids, I have to lay with them. My son is 8, my daughter's 4. I still lay with them every night to go to bed, like legit. And they won't even let dad do it. Like, and so I used to find it really frustrating, because I literally have no time in the day, like no time. And then when I would lay with them, I'm like, so once they're down, I'll get up and I'll do all the things I want to do. Half the time I'll fall asleep with them. The other half I'm like, I cannot be asked getting out of bed. I am staying, you know. So it became this overwhelming frustration. But the thing is, that's what I said. Like, I've learned then, you know what? Okay, so I can't rely on Kurt will do it for me, but they just don't want it. So I'm like, you know what? Okay, so this is what's going to work for me. 7 o'clock, I do not feel guilty. They go up, they get their iPad for half an hour, and that is me. Then I go up and I get my shit done, because I know otherwise I feel frustrated, I feel angry. So it's just about recognizing, all right, well, if they're going to be like this, and it's actually turned out really good, because now I'm really enjoying them being needy, because Hunter's almost at the age where he's not going to need me much anymore. And I get sad about that. It's like, I was angry because they needed me, and now I'm sad because they don't. It's like that complexity of motherhood. So it's like even reframing that and being like, I love how much they need me. So I don't want anybody else to put them to bed, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it work for me. And I'm going to have my half an hour to myself, and they're going to do whatever they want to do. And then we're all going to go to bed together and just do it that way. So figure out what works for you and then do that.
Absolutely. Yep. And I just put in the chat box, one thing on that is the reframing language is really, really powerful. So I challenge all of you to catch yourselves. When you hear yourself saying, oh my God, I just have to do this, or I shouldn't have to do this, or whatever, reframing it. So with Hamish, for example, it's, oh God, I'm the one that has to put him to bed every night, or I'm the one that has to get up in the middle of the night, because as Sue said, like, you know, the father can do it, but let's be honest, most kids, especially if they don't feel well or they're grizzly or they're tired, they want mum. Right. So I reframe that to, I get to. I've got girlfriends that have had numerous miscarriages and are now too old to even keep trying, and their bodies have shut down on them, and they never got the opportunity to be a mum. And there are people who try and try and try. They never meet the right partner. They never, you know, whatever it is, there are women out there who don't actually get the opportunity to go on this crazy bloody ride that is motherhood. So it's actually pouring love and gratitude into that and all the messiness that comes with it. And when you're getting out of bed in the morning and when you're in a good mood, you never question that. You just get on with your day. But when you wake up and you've got the shits, or you're just a bit cranky or overtired, you just put so much power into that emotion of feeling like shit. It's like, oh God, I feel like crap, and you know, it was because so-and-so annoyed me yesterday or whatever. You've got to find a label to attach to it. So just, next time you wake up and you're in a crappy mood, just accept that you're in a crappy mood. It's like, you know what, I'm just a bit cranky today. Good. It is what it is. It's that surrender and acceptance piece. So anyway, we could talk for 45 years, not 45 minutes, and we have run a few minutes over. So apologies for that, guys. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming. We are so grateful that you came, and we obviously would love to continue showing up for you. So Sue's put a couple of links in the chat box. So if you want to copy and paste those and save those links, whether you want to book in with Sue and or myself. Feel free to even do it with both of us if you want to. We're both more than happy to do that for you. Just to sort of run through any of the content, the workbook when you get it, and all that kind of stuff, or just anything that might be specifically coming up for you. You get half an hour of our time for free. And we are doing a survey, just a quick survey in SurveyMonkey. Just if you've got a couple of minutes, we'd really appreciate it, because we'd really love to create either a series of small short snapshots like this, or maybe even a half-day seminar or something like that. I know we'd love to do something face-to-face at some point as well. Hashtag COVID, see what happens, right? But yeah, just we'd love your feedback on today, and also what would benefit you the most and help you and support you the most moving forward. So
and if you feel like you have any friends or family that this might help or may resonate with them, or they even just want to have a free chat with us, please pop them in a three-way chat with us, either on Facebook or Instagram, and then we can just reach out to them. But please don't feel like you have to. This is just completely for free. We just want to help mums feel more calm and centered. And sometimes I don't think we recognize how amazing we are in terms of our energy. Our bodies are amazing when we recognize that when we have kids, but we are amazing in ourselves, and we just need to be reminded sometimes. So we hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. It's going to rain here. I'm excited. I need the rain. I love the rain. So have a wonderful day, guys, and we'll chat with you soon.
Thank you, ladies.
Much, everybody. It was good to see everybody. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks, girls. Bye.